Hello everyone, a very good evening to all of you. This is Arzu Kakkar. Welcome to Oliveboard. I hope you all are doing well. And as you all know, RBI Grade B results were out, final cutoff was out, and Oliveboard is running the Topper Strategy series. Today we are in conversation with our topper who got All India rank 22nd. Her name is Praagya Sharan. She belongs to Ranchi, Jharkhand, and has done her engineering from NIT Jamshedpur. Later on, she went for MBA also from IIM Indore. As far as her this success journey is concerned, she will share her by her own also by her own, I would say, and everybody will are keen to hear from her mouth her success story. But let me tell you that this was her second attempt. She was a working professional, and how she successfully aced this examination, got her rank, and find her name in the final list. So let us welcome Praagya Sharan to the Oliveboard platform and hear her success story. Welcome, Praagya.
Hi, ma'am. Thank you so much. And hello to all the people who are watching this video. And thank you so much for that glorious introduction.
So, Praagya, first of all, many big congratulations to you for clearing this and sharing your success. You will be sharing this success story. So this success has its own hard work, your dedication, your time management, and many more things. So we from Oliveboard platform, first of all, congratulate you for clearing RBI Grade B exam.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Again, thanks.
How are you?
Yeah, sorry.
Please.
I was just saying that, thank you so much for the good wishes, and Oliveboard has had a very good, big role to play, which I'll be sharing in course of time.
Yeah. So, Praagya, first of all, if you could please give a brief about yourself to our viewers, your educational background, and certain other things that you wish to share.
Sure. I belong to Ranchi, Jharkhand. I've been born and brought up here. I did my schooling from JVM Shamli, which is quite a popular school here. It is where Mahendra Singh Dhoni is from. Yeah, and all of us are missing him a lot these days. So I did my schooling from here, and thereafter I did my graduation from NIT Jamshedpur. My branch was Electronics and Communication. I graduated in 2017, and thereafter I got into IIM Indore immediately that very year. So I did my MBA from there, graduated in 2019, and I got a campus placement. I landed myself a job from the campus placement, and since then I've been associated with the company. I've been working for the past 3.5 years. Yeah.
Okay. So what was that shift working for 3.5 years, and what came to your mind? Now let's change the path. And what was it that how you choose this path?
Sure. So I had known about this examination for a very long time. Like even while I was growing up, this is something that my parents would always tell me that, this is one job that you must always try for. It's extremely prestigious, very difficult to get in as well. And, the general consensus about RBI Grade B, and I'm sure a lot of aspirants will also relate to, is that it's a great organization to work for, great work. It takes care of its employees. Nice. The work-life balance is nice, so you can pursue your hobbies, etc. So I always had this in the back of my mind, but I never got an opportunity because 2019 I was still, figuring out things in my job, still trying to understand where my interest lies, didn't have that kind of perspective. But the pandemic helped me a lot in the sense that it helped me understand where my interests lie, what I want to do in the future, what is it that I'm seeking in my job. And that's when I decided to take my first attempt. It was in the year 2021 when I appeared for RBI Grade B for the first time. I qualified the phase 1, couldn't get through phase 2. I missed the cutoff by 13 marks. Okay. So this is my second attempt, and I'm very happy that I've been able to clear it.
Yeah, congratulations once again. And Praagya, we will start with the very first question. Yeah, we have started, but my first question is, how is your feeling on that particular day? How was that feeling when you found, okay, now I have cleared my second attempt and you found your name in that list?
It was a sense of relief because I remember the result came out on 21st of October. It was a Friday. And all of us are on various Telegram groups, right? So all the aspirants were anticipating that the result is going to be out any day of the week, any moment. So it was a week full of anxiety, and there was a lot of tension, a lot of stress. And I was only hoping and praying that, the results should come out before Diwali, because if it comes out in that particular week, I'm not going to be able to celebrate any festival. I've come from Jharkhand, and, my native roots are in Bihar. So we celebrate Chhat also here.
Yeah.
It was a week-long festival. It was a very festive week, and I didn't want to spoil, the results to spoil that. But when the results were finally out, obviously there was a sense of relief. I had my entire family. My sister was at home. My parents were here. My grandparents also live here. So it was a week. It was very, very nice, and
So then
all
how
of
your
us were very
festive
happy.
season after the result?
It was awesome. It was nice. My family members were very happy, and we had a couple of friends come over. So we celebrated that entire week. It was really nice.
Great. So Pragya, as you know now, there are three phases: phase one, phase two, and then we have an interview round as well. So we will go backwards. Like we'll start with the interview, how your interview went, and what happened that day. Then phase two, and then phase one, in this
Sure,
month.
sure.
So yeah, how was your interview?
My interview was really nice. I think in terms of my rank, like my All India rank was 22nd, and I think a lot of the heavy lifting was done by the interview score, by my interview score. I scored a 72 on 75, and
Okay.
my phase two marks were like 179.5. So all the heavy lifting I attributed to my interview.
Okay.
And I gave my interview at the Kolkata regional office.
Okay.
And a lot of us, I'll share a little anecdote here. It's not
Please.
related to my interview, but I'll tell you like why RBI is such a coveted organization and why people aspire to go there. I remember I was using the washroom there, and for some reason, I false stepped, and I almost fell. So I shrieked, I screamed, and the attendant who was, catering to the interview procedure and all of that, he probably heard it. So he came up to me and he asked me, "How are you? Are you okay?" So I told him, "I'm fine. I just fear," because I was wearing a dupatta then. So I told him that, I fear that I've torn my dupatta or something. I probably need help. So he sent two women to me, and they helped me put my dupatta together. They offered to set my hair up also. They asked me like, do you like your hair? Do you want us to help you with that?" And it was so touching. Like I was so moved by that gesture, because I was not even an employee. I was a candidate, and at that point of time, nobody knew if I would be able to make it or not. And yet, for them to be so considerate and kind, I was very, very impressed and very, very happy. So again, like I'm so glad that I've been able to
And
be a part
these
of this.
gestures remain with you and yeah. I,
Absolutely, absolutely. So ma'am, coming to your question, my interview, I think the second last candidate to go inside the interview. So, we were all extremely anxious and tired, etc. But, the moment I stepped inside that interview room, the panelists are very nice, like they're very cordial. I'm sure that you must have heard a lot of people say this, but
yeah,
that's
exactly.
actually true. They're very nice. It's not a stress interview. Like they're willing to hear you. They respond, they reciprocate. Like even if you say good morning or good afternoon or whatever. Like I remember I wished them a good morning, and one of the panel members, he said that, don't you think it's good afternoon? He looked at his watch, etc. So like that reciprocative. So yeah, that was my interview, and I was expecting a lot of HR questions. Like even the mock interviews I gave, right? I was asked to prepare HR questions because it was a major shift in my career path. I didn't have the usual background. And plus,
Right.
I was already employed, doing
Correct.
well there. So, but to my surprise, there was not a single HR question, like
Okay.
nothing of that sort. They
Okay.
just, it was a technical round all through and through.
Okay.
Um, she asked me like something related to the monetary policy measures of RBI, the conventional and unconventional ones during the pandemic. One
Okay.
of the panel members. Then at that point of time, the PCA framework of
Right.
NBFC and the banks, they were in use. So I was asked everything that was related to current affairs.
Okay.
One panel member, he asked me something related to my job and what I was doing, and we had a bit of discussion there.
Okay.
And then there was this one panel member who asked me something related to what I had mentioned in my bio data regarding my hobby, which is Kathak.
Okay.
So he asked me, like, there was an extensive discussion that had happened, and I was not anticipating that because,
Right.
that's not something that you expect. Like, it's an interview, and they don't, I mean, for some reason, I didn't expect them to go that deep into my hobby. They asked me a very, very technical question, and then he sort of engaged with me in a small discussion because he said, "Aisa nahi hota hai." I mean, he asked me about the gharanas of Kathak.
Okay.
And he said, I replied that there are three gharanas. And he said, no, there are two gharanas. I have information right here.
Okay.
And we had a bit of discussion. I told him why I think there should be three gharanas. And then eventually he didn't seem too convinced. But I mean, my biggest learning from my interview experience was that don't be afraid to have a discussion with the panel members.
Right.
I mean, be within your limits. Don't overstep. Don't be arrogant. Don't say anything which you think can hurt them. But at the same time, be very firm about your point of view. Reply with a lot of confidence. And I think that's fine.
Yeah, you just mentioned ki, don't be arrogant, and this is what I can take from your interview, as they mentioned ki there are this much of Gharanas, three, and you said basically. So yeah, you're not stubborn. Okay, nahi, mujhe pata hai, I know this, so this will be the only answer. Yes, whatever they say, you should have a cordial discussion with them as well. And there might be moments in your interview where were you able to answer all the questions, or there might be you skipped some.
No, I wasn't able to answer all the questions, definitely. I remember one of the panel member, she asked me, like, which sector do you think suffered the most during the pandemic? So
Okay.
I answered, like I said, contact intensive sectors. And then for some reason, I was just going around that point, like saying things like restaurants and hotels, etc. And then I wasn't able to come to a concrete answer, probably what she was looking for. And then I remember the other panel member, he told me, like, he kind of, like, scolded me that, your neighbors are going bankrupt because this particular sector is not performing well and you don't know that. So I instantly said, yeah, so maybe, yeah, tourism is one sector which has suffered a lot. So that was like one instance. I remember there were a couple of other instances as well wherein I didn't know the answer. But when you don't know the answer, I think a lot of the times the panel members, they prompt you. I think they do, because I've read this in other transcripts as well. They try and give you a hint. They sort of guide you to the
Okay.
answer.
Okay.
So if you're able to pick that up, great. If you're not able to pick that up, maybe it's very, very normal. Just tell them that, at this point of time, I'm not able to recollect. If you want to take a guess, tell them that you are taking a guess. I mean,
Okay.
don't take a guess and then, leave it for them to decide whether you took a guess or not. Just tell them, ask them that, sir, I think it probably means this, but I'm not sure. So
Okay.
yeah, I mean, it's definitely, because it's not possible, ma'am, for one
Correct. Correct.
person to know everything.
Right.
So definitely, I mean, there were a couple of instances, and I had to excuse myself there. I had to tell them that, so maybe I'm not sure at this point of time.
And
I'll
you
go
were
back and I'll
confident
read up.
enough to say no, because sometimes we say it's a game changing point and we might lose confidence there itself. Coming, it might be a case ki when they are throwing 2 to 3 questions back and we are not able to answer, anything can happen. So were you able to maintain, your success says this. So were you, if you could share, were you able to maintain the confidence? What was running back in your mind if you're not able to answer?
Um, I mean, I try to, and this probably I also, attributed to the fact that I faced a couple of interviews in life,
Correct.
like when I was in engineering. And ma'am, I'll say this with all honesty that initially when I'd sit for my interviews during campus placements, like, I would always be disappointed with the results. Like, I've missed out on my dream companies because I've not been able to perform well in interviews.
Okay.
So, and this was, I think, my eighth, ninth, 10th interview, I don't know. So, you tend to learn a lot from your
Correct.
experiences. I
Correct.
think experiences teach you a lot. So
Correct.
I knew that, at any point, even if you're feeling underconfident, if you're not feeling good about how the interview is progressing, please don't let that come on your face. Please don't, like, your gestures, your
Right.
facial expressions, at no point should they reflect what you're thinking, or
Right.
for the fact that you're starting to give up. Please be, that's probably why everyone says that, always have a smiling face, because
Right.
it shouldn't, appear that it has started to affect you.
Right.
And ma'am, also I'd like to mention that I took a lot of mock interviews. I relied on mock interviews a lot, like 6 or 7. And I remember, I took a mock interview with Oliveboard, and there also, because the person who was taking my mock interview, he asked me a lot of questions. I was able to handle some questions. I was not able to answer some questions. So he told me that, even if you are able to get 50% of the questions right in the interview, it's good. Like, it's more than enough. Try acing those 50% of the questions. Make sure that any question that comes from the bio data, you don't miss that. That's imperative. You shouldn't miss any question that comes from your bio data, because that's supposed to be your strength.
Right.
That is very important.
Right.
And I think like in a normal interview scenario, they usually tend to ask you questions. Like, if they see like your interview is going very smoothly, they'll throw a few questions which is to throw you off the track,
Right.
just to see that aspect of your personality. I think this is what they do.
Right.
And the panel members are very experienced people, so they'll probably react also in a way that it'll seem like they're not happy with your response or anything, but just keep your calm and have a very,
Exactly.
very straight smiling face.
So this is a very important takeaway, I would say, that whenever you think such things are happening in your interview, all you need to require is don't show it on your face, and have a smiling face as she is having right now as well. And as second important point is, try to give mock interviews as much as possible. They build your confidence. You will be able to see, okay, now you're going for an interview. Already you have given and taken so many interviews, so you will not be losing your any tempo, any confidence. You will have a sense of confidence, and I think we all work upon the interviews, the mock interviews, whatever they suggest where we are lacking, or whatever the feedback that is shared to our mock interviews. Is it so with you as well?
Absolutely, ma'am. Mock interviews, I took a lot of my feedback very seriously. I worked on it also. I remember practicing in front of the mirror, also saying the same things again and again. The probable questions that were there. I used to say this to myself, looked at myself in front of the mirror, like how I look, because I have a habit of using my hands a lot. Like,
Me
it
too.
comes very naturally to me. I mean, I have my face also. It's never a straight face. Like, maybe because I'm a dancer, so my expressions change a lot and all of that. So I had to be very conscious of these little things. I was also given this advice during the mock interview that speak less, control yourself. I remember there was this one panel member who said, "Beta गाना नहीं गाना है वहाँ पे, बात करनी है, तो बात करके आ जाना." So that was there. And I was very conscious about these little things.
Right.
Yeah.
And one last question with your interview. You just mentioned in this conversation that current affairs played a very important role in interview. It is general our perception that GA for phase 1 or then for phase 2, but current affairs are not for your phase 1 or phase 2. They go with your phase 1, phase 2 and interview as well. So you just mentioned that point. If you could please elaborate on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think current affairs, they play a very, very important role. If something has been there in the news one day, you can expect a question on it, probably the next day, if you have an interview the very next day. So, in terms of the sources, please refer to the two most important sections of RBI website that I suggest that you must always refer to are notifications and press releases. You can
Right.
leave press releases if you are into the habit of reading the newspaper, but if you don't read the newspaper, just go through the press releases that come out.
Okay.
At that point of time, there would be a lot of articles related to UPI monetization, because RBI had a discussion paper. There were, there were some changes with the WPI. The MPC meeting had happened, so there were questions related to it. The PCA framework, as I just mentioned,
Yeah.
and that was in news. I don't know, it's like some 6 months ago. In November 2021 is when the new PCA framework for NBFC had released. So, current affairs are extremely important. So just keep yourself updated
Updating.
with it all the time.
Right. Okay. So let's now move to phase two. Writing descriptive answers. It's not about. It's a completely different approach. When you are in front of panel, you are able to depict yourself, show yourself, your mindset. So writing an answer also shows your mindset, how you are as an overall personality. Also. So what was your take on writing descriptive answers? And we usually say there are keywords in the questions as well. Examine, critically examine, discuss, and elaborate. So how you used to cope up with the phase two, and what is your take on it? If you could please throw some light on your phase two preparation.
Right. So for descriptive, my strategy number one was that, and I think it can probably differ from candidate to
Right.
candidate, but I tried to stick to the word limit. Like I definitely don't exceed it for sure, but I also try to make sure that I don't fall short of the word limit. Like for example, if it's 600 words, I'd always try that, my answer should have at least 550 words.
Right.
Um, uh, Obviously that doesn't mean that you write things which are not related to the question. So for here, I'd say that for management, I'll talk about management, what my strategy was. I
Right.
tried to use a lot of quotations. I tried to use a lot of real life examples, because I think when you're writing examples, it blends into your answer very beautifully. It kind of gives what you're thinking, and also it helps you, increase your word limit. So always have an example in hand. Like for example, I don't recollect if it was a question of finance or English, but we had to write something related to women, women in entrepreneurship, etc. So at that point of time, I remember, all of us would watch Shark Tank, and
Right.
it's become a part of the pop culture. So I remember quoting examples from there, writing about Vinita Singh and Amita
Right.
Thapar and Ghazal Alak. I quoted all these three women and some more. So
And
I
they
think
Abhi
quoting,
recently, sorry to interrupt you, but the name you mentioned, they were recently in news day before yesterday only, where they were in the Forbes list of Indian
yeah,
business
right.
women.
Right,
Right.
right, absolutely. So that is try and quote examples, don't be afraid to do that. If there's question like discuss or elaborate, so that is in questions like these, they expect you to write. So it's something, for example, if they ask you to discuss the implications of global financial crisis, like write everything, what led to it, what was the effect that it had on the world, that it had on India, the steps that were taken, etc. So in order to, have that kind of information, I'd suggest is that go through the syllabus once. I think,
Right.
there are keywords in the syllabus. Prepare your short notes
Right.
accordingly. Like, have the important pointers in your mind that will help you in the final answer preparation. And even if you don't know the answer to something, at least you will be able to write something around it, frame your answer around it. And I think more often than not, that helps.
Right.
If it's catering to, if it's around the point, if it's not too far away from what you're expected to write, as long as you are within within those boundaries, I think it works perfectly fine. Be very particular about grammatical errors. I think
Right.
it's extremely underrated. Like more often than not, we concentrate on the content, but we don't look at the grammar aspect of it. Please be very particular about it. One thing that helped me a lot for descriptive was that I would type my answers on the Grammarly website interface, the interface of the Grammarly website. I didn't type on Word, because that would help me with my sentence formation, with my
Okay.
punctuation, with little things, which one tends to ignore. So that is something that I feel helped me a lot.
Okay.
I wrote my answers in points. I didn't rely on paragraphs, because I think when you're answering in points, it's easier.
Yeah. Yeah.
When your points come out more clear, and your perspective appears
Right.
better. And also, like the interface of the RBI examination, like since I've attempted the phase two examination twice, the first time
Right.
it was very user friendly. Like it was easier for us to navigate through the answer, the arrow keys, the space bar, etc. It was working fine. The second time I felt it was a little difficult.
Okay.
I don't know if the other candidates felt, but I remember discussing it with a person who was appearing just next to me, and she also felt similar. She had similar observations. So in situations like these, please be very calm. Like don't panic.
Right.
I know it's easier said than done, but at that point of time, try to be very calm and very composed. Um, Try to figure a way out through it. I'm sure, like you have a lot of time, so you'll be able to figure out. And always remember that if you're facing issues like this, the other candidates are facing it as well.
Correct.
Like as long as it's not a hardware issue, like issue with your keyboard or mouse, whatever, the interface issues is going to be faced by everyone. So just be very calm about it.
Right.
Don't
And
panic.
Pragya, you just mentioned 2 points, and I would elaborate it once. 2 points were that we have to make sure that our answer is in a boundary, within the boundaries of the word limit. And the second point is we have to cover every factor, like what led to it, the solutions, and the way we used to answer. So these two things should be, I would say, key covering everything in that particular limit requires daily practice. So, how many number of answers or how many questions do you practice daily, and when you started writing, so that you gain that habit of writing the answers with that much proper limit?
Right. So I started my descriptive answer writing after phase one.
Okay.
This was like totally dedicated to RBI. I didn't do it before that, but I have a habit of typing in general because the company that I'm associated with, there's a lot of typing involved. Even before that, like while pursuing MBAs, etc., we used to draft a lot of assignments, write a lot of things. So I have the habit of typing, but for the purpose of, I think, descriptive, if I have to, I mean, it totally depends on the background that you come from. I think that's very important.
Correct.
For someone who's been working and have been in the habit of typing, they'll probably find it a bit easier. So they just need to concentrate on the content.
Right.
And the content for an answer, you can pick it up like on a day-to-day basis. Today, if you read a newspaper and there's probably an article that you feel is relevant to something that's there in the syllabus, make a short note of it. I mean, the examples that you see in your day-to-day life, try and correlate it with anything that's happening around with what is
Right.
there in the syllabus. I think that would help. But yeah, ma'am, to answer your question, I started my descriptive practice after phase one.
So my last question with phase two will be, as you mentioned that you were writing phase two the second time, you have already taken phase two before. So what was the change, and what were the things that happened that time that you didn't repeat? So if you could please throw some light on it. What went wrong when you wrote phase two there? Do you
Ma'am,
find something?
right, ma'am. The first time that I attempted phase two, I was not very sure about the content because I don't think my preparation was up to the mark.
Okay.
I didn't write my answers in points. I wrote in paragraphs, and at that point of time, I mean, I was still I was still figuring out a lot of things. My preparation was not that nice, so I didn't throw in as much examples as a reason. My answers would always fall short in terms of the word limit.
Right.
Like I'd write certain things and I would just not have anything else to add. So
Right.
I mean, I would panic, etc. This time, for management especially, and I'm putting a lot of emphasis on management is because it's a very important section of the paper. It's probably more important than economics and finance because when you read through the syllabus, you probably feel that finance is where I mean, I should be devoting all my time to and economics, etc. Nobody pays attention to management. It's so underrated. And these days, the questions in management have become very application oriented. They are not direct. And that was also a difference between the descriptive paper of last year and the descriptive paper of this year. Like last year, it was a completely direct
Right.
scenario. They would
Right.
just ask questions, very direct questions. Like I remember we were asked about the recommendations of Finance Commission. Like they were as direct as that.
Yeah.
But this time they were a bit application based, and I'm assuming that in future, because the candidates are getting acquainted with the pattern of phase two,
Right.
so we're going to get even more application oriented here with.
Right.
So as I said, try and relate it to what's happening, develop your own understanding, your own perspective to it. I think that is going to help you. Like, I mean, it's going to be a sustained preparation for
Right.
phase two.
Right.
And if you're doing that, I think you're good to go.
And what about then phase one? It is completely different as objective type questions are there. And many of the toppers say phase one is tough than phase two an interview. So what is your take on it?
It is, ma'am, probably because that is the elimination round. Phase two is also an elimination round, like, but phase one is like you have a larger pool of candidates. The questions are tough. The RBI, because and there's always a debate going on if CAT is tougher or QRE of CAT is tough or QRE of RBI phase one is tough. I'd say that RBI, the level of question, if it's not above cat, it's also not below cat. It's somewhere equal. Like both of them are tough and they require a lot of practice. Having said that, I think giving mocks help.
Right.
I always say this, your preparation is as good as the last mock that you gave. If you're scoring well there, it means you're going to score well in the exam. If you're not scoring well, and so try and practice as much as you can. I think that's extremely important. I remember I appeared for close to 50 mock tests, and I think this is where I'd like to specially acknowledge the contribution of Oliveboard, because I purchased the mocks of Oliveboard and for phase one as well as phase two. And I think the interface is very similar to what was there in the actual examination. Like, I think it's the exact same interface. The level of questions are also very similar. I mean, it's not too tough, so you're not going to get too demotivated. At the same time, you'll not live in a delusion also that, I'm going to do well there. That helps. My preparation was totally mock dependent. I'd give my mock, analyze it very, very thoroughly, and then obviously I'd figure out areas where I felt that I needed a bit of practice. I'd either refer to the YouTube videos for it, or I'd give sectional tests for it. I remember appearing for a lot of reasoning sectional tests, because that is one area where I felt I was very weak. It required a bit of practice from my side. And also, again, here I'd like to mention that the RBI phase one paper, it's a 2-hour paper and you have 200 questions. So obviously you'll not be able to attempt everything. So you should be in a position where you can judge a question, like you can judge the potential of that question by virtue of just reading it. You should be able to make a decision if I'm going to attempt it or not. And I think that is totally going to come from practice. So for QRE, that was my strategy.
So as you mentioned, not just giving the mock test is complete in itself, analyzing them as well is very important. So just giving a mock test and say, okay, I have taken a mock test is not complete in itself. Do analyze your performance where you're getting weak. And this was your complete approach for phase one for your reasoning, quant, English for objective, general awareness?
General awareness, again, you can refer to any booklet that is there. I mean, there are a lot of booklets floating around. I also watched a lot of videos. The daily current affair analysis that happened. I, as a person, I'm more comfortable watching videos than reading something, because it's more convenient for me. I was already involved in a 10-hour job. So the watching videos would appear easy to me, and I'd accordingly make very short notes. But again, most of my preparation happened because I used to take up a lot of mocks. When you're appearing for those many mocks, you're at least seeing those many questions, and after, if you've made a mistake while marking a question, it stays in your mind for longer, as opposed to when you're reading something simply. So I think that worked for me. And also, again, while you analyze the mock, the solutions, they don't just mention that the fact that was asked in that question, but they also mention additional things. So I think you get a lot of information from there as well. So that was my strategy for GA, ma'am. Honestly, it was not my strongest section. I didn't score as well. My QRE scores were better than average. My GA score, I remember I scored 26 out of 80 this time. So it's not a very good score if you compare it with other toppers. I'm sure they've done much better. And even the last time, I didn't score much in GA. My QRE scores, they helped me a lot. And even in QRE, if I have to pick, it was quants and English, not even reasoning. Reasoning was just like very average. So I think you must pick and choose your sections very wisely. If you're strong in certain sections, please make sure that you're not just touching the cutoff. You're scoring well above it. So that is going to lift your overall scores up. And sections that you're very weak at, like for example, for me, it was GA and reasoning. Just make sure that you're scoring enough to get you past the cutoff.
Right. So she very beautifully mentioned one thing, and it depends from candidate to candidate, from toppers to toppers. They are sharing their strategy and also telling you where they are weak in. So we have talked to other toppers also. There was a variety who were weak in maths, who are weak in general awareness, and how they cope up with that. They are able to analyze themselves only. Self-analysis is the best analysis. So here you all have to also analyze yourself where you are weak in and what approach you have to take. So it's not key. there are, we always say na ki as many as toppers, as many as strategies. So what advice you feel that can help you, that is a smart way to go with their strategy. So make sure whatever you're learning from her, one question that many of the aspirants might be waiting, as you mentioned ki it was a 10-hour job and you were a working professional. So I remember that I said ki okay, you were having a 7 to 8 hours job. She said no ma'am, it's 10 hours. So how you went with you the whole day? It basically 10 hours are just gone and you're left with you have to do preparation. So how was your time management being a working professional? How you manage time?
Right. So what I did was I planned my leaves very, very smartly. I remember I went on a 1 week leave before my phase 2 examination. And that was something that I had booked well in advance, that I'm going to be on a week-long leave before phase 2. Obviously, I didn't disclose that to my company, but that entire week was booked for me. Other thing is, as I said, I referred to, I relied on mocks. I referred to videos. I didn't refer to PDFs because videos is something that I can hear probably even when I'm working. And I was also, I'd say that I was a little lucky because I'm working from home. So I didn't have to take care of a lot of things. I have my parents around to take care of the house, etc. So that way I was very lucky. But again, when you have a job, you have to be very smart about it. You know, you have to plan your things very well. Probably if you're on good terms with your manager, you can probably talk to them and tell them that, you know, I'm going to be away for this long and you have to do your work, but then you have to be very smart about it. I always say this. And my timings were like 2:30 in the afternoon to 12:30 in the night. So I had the entire morning to myself. So I'd wake up a little early, utilize that time. And even when I'd go for a walk, right, I'd put my headphones on and I'd listen to a lot of current affair analysis, a lot of you know, you'll find schemes being analyzed, PIB analysis, etc. on YouTube. So I'd listen to that. And I think mocks really help when someone is short on time. I think one thing that you can probably do without failing is that please solve as many mocks as possible. That's going to help you. I say this with my own experience. I did the same for CAT. I did the same for other RBI phase 1 the last time I cleared, and this time as well. I think mocks just help
so
you a lot.
she is very much stressing upon mocks, and it is very important because when I am taking lectures, I used to stress upon it every day ki please do give mocks, and what I get in return is ma'am, our syllabus is not completed yet. So we have to complete our syllabus once, and this is what I'm telling to them ki syllabus is never going to complete. You have to make sure that you give mocks and you're able to analyze ki what is going wrong or is your direction right. So it will help you in your preparation only. Ye kuch alag nahi hai. So yes, as she is stressing again and again, so guys, please focus upon the mocks, whether it is for phase 1, phase 2, and for your interview as well. And a very famous question, how much number of hours we should devote? So being a working professional, what were your number of hours that you devoted?
Ma'am, I didn't keep a count on it, but like on weekdays, I'd solve a mock every day. So 2 hours of mock solving and I think 2 hours of mock analysis. And this is something that I followed. I gave mocks not just for phase 1, but for phase 2 as well, for the objective part. I think that's very important. Other than that, I'd listen to videos a lot, 2x key speed way. So that really helped. I didn't keep a count on it. And obviously, weekends, again, I devote a lot of my time because I had weekends all to myself. That was a great thing about my job. I didn't have working weekends. So weekends pay, again, I devote a lot of my time, but I think more than the number of hours, I think it's important. What's important is what is your efficiency and productivity in the number of hours that you are clocking. If you are at your best, even with 2 to 3 hours of preparation, I think it's fine.
So you have to be consistent with with every day, rather than a very beautiful answer she has mentioned. She was not keeping count of number of hours. This is an answer in itself. Ki whatever number of hours you are dedicating, make sure they are productive enough. And my one last question will be how you will sum up your entire journey, how you were patient, calm, and how you kept yourself motivated, or if you could say entirely about your journey, how it went.
It's been like, in the hindsight, it's been a very, very beautiful journey. I got to learn a lot. I think it has changed me a little as a person also. Like people who are around me, my parents, my sister, they tell me that, I've calmed down a lot. Like I used to be very hyper energetic and very impulsive, etc. Now I've become a lot more calm. I'm a lot more emotionally stable. This is what they tell me. And I think more than anything else, it has helped me better myself because
Right.
once I had graduated from IIM, I had got very complacent in the sense that I was trying to relax as much as I could. I was not focusing towards my personal development. But once I started to study for RBI, I got into the habit of devoting some time doing something constructive. And I gave my phase one in 2021. I couldn't get past it, but
Right.
I mean, since I had gotten into the habit of studying, I remember I applied for CFA level one certification, and because I was into the habit, I was able to clear it in 2022 February. And then, of course, the RBI 2022 notification came. So I think it has helped me. I have got into the habit of reading newspapers a lot more regularly. I used to when I was in college, and then I stopped doing that when I got into a job. Now I'm trying to keep up with it. So these are the little changes that have happened.
So thank you, Pragya, for sharing your success story with us. I hope, and I know many of the aspirants will take away many of your advices, wonderful advices, I would say. So thank you for joining and sharing your story with Oliveboard. I, on behalf of all the aspirants, viewers, and Oliveboard team, congratulate once again and wish all the best for your future endeavors.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Pragya. Thank you. Bye.